This episode of Indy Boys Racing Podcast was recorded on January 24th, so if there's any news that we missed after this video, then sorry about it. Also, there is a slight trigger warning in this video, as there is some mild language used, so if that is going to easily trigger you, please watch with caution. Thank you. Enjoy the episode.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Indy Boys Racing Podcast. I'm Tristan Grider, joined today with RFK's favorite hair in the NASCAR world, Daniel Chaney and Justin Cox. How are we doing today, boys?
I'm good, man. How about you?
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. What about you, Daniel?
I'm doing really good, man.
How's it feel to have RFK's favorite hair?
No, it feels pretty nice. I do appreciate that a NASCAR team really enjoys my hair.
Well, there you go. There you go. We got a great show for you guys today. David Malukas is going to stop by later. It's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about the LA Clash, do some motorsport media. Very, very excited for this episode. Let's get right into it. And now we're going to transition. Let's do some motorsport media today, guys. I guess I'll start with NASCAR news. A lot of NASCAR news this week. Start with the Xfinity Series. Ryan Vargas has re-signed with JD Motorsports full-time for next season. That's really good. We love Ryan Vargas. Don't know what car he'll be in yet, but that's really exciting. Matt Mills will return to BJ McLeod Motorsports for his sixth season in the 5-car. So that's really cool. Kaz Grala has signed with Alpha Prime Racing as their reserve driver. And he will also race 4 races throughout the season. We don't know if it's going to be in the 45 or the 44 yet, but that's really cool for Kaz.
Yeah.
On the Cup Series side of things, Daniel Hemrick will run the Daytona 500 with Kaulig Racing, and they also have revealed their full driver schedule with Gregson, Allmendinger, and Hemrick. Allmendinger's getting the most races, then Gregson, then Hemrick. Super cool to see all of them getting some Cup starts. And this was a little bit of a bomb. The Money Team Racing has a car and reportedly plans to qualify for the Daytona 500 with Alpha Prime's newest reserve driver, Kaz Grala. So that's a little bit of a rumor. We don't really know if that's going to happen yet. But if that does happen, then we would have a full field for the Daytona 500. Really, really exciting stuff on the NASCAR side of things. What's going on over in supercars, Jay?
So I have something for F1 as well, but in supercars, I saw some testing for the new Gen 3 cars for the 2022 season, and it's a Ford Mustang and Chevy Camaro. They switched from Holden. But those cars are, when I say beefy, I mean beefy. Like, they're loud, they're mean, and they're fast, most importantly. So
Beautiful.
it's going to be great racing next season. And in F1 news, the directors of the Australian GP have fired shots at the drivers, saying that some of the drivers that don't have the vaccine, they're probably not going to be able to race if they don't get it. Because,
Dang.
yeah. So I don't care about a vaccination status of drivers or people in general, but like this is gonna make for like a very interesting season or weekend. Not season, weekend, because like we don't know what drivers are under like that are gonna have to get it that won't get it. So yeah,
Could be seeing a very different F1 field. That is surprising. I do not blame F1 at all because I can't remember if there's been any sport leagues that have required vaccination status.
It's not F1. It's just the Australian GP directors.
Oh,
it's not all
okay.
of F1. It's just for that weekend.
Alright,
So
that's
Interesting.
and it's only being talked about because Novak Djokovic, he's a tennis player, and he got his visa rejected because he's a vaccine skeptic, and he doesn't want to get the vaccine. And the Australian Open was supposed to be like last weekend or coming up here soon or something, but he got his visa rejected, and that's the only reason this is in talks right now. And they're basically just saying if you don't have the vaccine, you're not coming to race. So, yeah.
I do not blame them.
Yeah, which
So-
I mean, yeah, I don't, but I don't know. It'll just be interesting when we get
Yeah,
there.
for real.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and then F1 has also gotten rid of military flyovers.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So it's
That's really
like,
interesting.
It's more in the fact of like military dominance is why most countries do flyovers for F1 races. So they want to take that away, and just be like a commercial or stunt plane flying over or something, which they're still allowed to, just military flyovers can't. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the supercars, whatever else that. Yeah. Dan, you got anything today?
There was some IndyCar news, not necessarily a lot as there have been in the past weeks. Obviously, AJ Foyt did their testings with Kyle Kirkwood and why am I blanking?
Golden Kellett,
Not Dalton Kellett, the driver of the 11,
Tatiana Calderon.
Tatiana Calderon. Don't know why I was stuttering there.
Man, that was a certified Dalton
Yeah,
Kellett moment.
certified Dalton Kellett moment there. But they did their rookie testing at Sebring, I believe. Not necessarily that much news came out of that, but they did do their testing. And then out of their media day for IndyCar, not necessarily any noteworthy news, but something to potentially take note of is some drivers were kind of not necessarily taking shots, but saying how. So Pato O'Ward and Colton Herta specifically were saying how like F1 is still somewhat their dream, and Colton Herta like went into like a lot of detail about how like if he were to go to F1, if he had the opportunity, he would most likely take it, but obviously he wants to do it while he's younger because you can't really be 28 and just try to insert yourself into F1. And so he kind of said like if he basically were to have it his way, he would go to F1 for a few years until basically he just either wasn't good enough or just was phased out, and then he would come back to IndyCar because obviously you can be a lot more older in IndyCar and still be competitive.
Yeah.
And Pato Ward just kind of said how the cars are just super fun and he would love to potentially be an F1. And Scott Dixon, obviously the 6-time champ of IndyCar, said basically that the Indy cars were a lot like junior formula cars, which a lot of people somewhat took just as a shot at IndyCar.
Dang.
I don't know if he meant it as a shot at IndyCar. Obviously, he is a 6-time champion, so I don't think he necessarily has any problem with IndyCar. But it is interesting to see how that might affect what they might change about the cars, what they might change about the engines, what they might change about the chassis in the future, just based on driver input. So that'll just be something to take some interest of the past week.
So he's like basically saying that they're not beefy enough, basically. Like it's like they're not up to F1 standards.
Yeah, I think it was more because a lot of critique that some of the drivers have had, especially like Pato O'Ward, I believe, said something about how just Indy cars are a lot more heavy than the F1 cars because obviously they've got a lot more like condensed into the center, obviously with the bigger aero screen because F1 just has the halo, which adds some weight, but IndyCar has the whole aero screen that's like the halo with the windshield, and that adds, I believe, like 70 pounds to just the center of the car.
Yeah.
And so I think some drivers would like to see that weight be either decreased or evenly distributed. So I don't know when they plan to really change the chassis or the car in general. They tend to do it every few years to make some tweaks. So I don't know when they will either make the changes or consider those changes, but it is something to take some note of.
Okay.
Well, there you go, guys. That was your motorsport media news for the week. Let's go see what's going on with our special interview of the day. Welcome back to Indy Boys, a racing podcast. We have a very special treat for you guys today. Driver of the number 18 Honda for Dale Coyne Racing, rookie David Malukas. Thank you for joining the show today, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm very excited that we could get this set up. So coming from us from Chicago, Illinois, what is it like to be in the IndyCar series?
Well, it's an experience, man. The so far from what I've gathered, right? You know, because we haven't gone racing yet, but I went to an IndyCar meeting, right? They're like, "All right, David Malukas, yeah, you got to come to this IndyCar meeting," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. And I'm going to IndyCar meeting. Like, let's go." So I waltzed in there, you know, like I'm just casual, like not freaking out. Walk in, shake hands, you know, with the director, whatever, and we walk in, sit down. Bosch, Will Power sits right next to me, and he's just like, "Hey, how you doing?" And just start having a normal conversation with Will Power. I'm like, "That's okay, it's Will Power right there." Like, he's talking to me about like cup of coffee. Like this is nuts. So, from that experience, just as a whole, it is pretty nuts. So, I'm treated, you know, as an IndyCar driver, and everybody knows me, which is just surreal to me. But I talked to Scott Dixon as well outside of the bathroom, and it was just like a normal conversation. I was like, man, this is crazy. But so yeah, so for the little experiences I've had, it's so far, man, I'm still starstruck. You know, it hasn't gotten to me yet.
I bet. I know that whenever we go to the track, we're at IMS and at IRP, all the tracks in the Indy area quite a lot. And whenever we see just anybody that like we're like, wow, I've watched them since I was 5 years old, and I just got them to autograph a hat for me. Like that is like the dopest experience. And I know that growing up, obviously, with you watching IndyCar since you were a kid, I'm sure this is one of your dreams that you've always had. Besides Dixon and Power, who was the driver that you just wanted to be growing up?
Wanted to be, man, it actually was out of the IndyCar world and actually in F1 with Michael Schumacher. He was the one I used to always watch, and it's just, man, it was just surreal to watch him. I remember watching him do a lap in Monaco, going through the swimming pool and then just doing his bias, like just one-handing the swimming pool, and he's just a spectacular man.
And that is incredibly hard to do at Monaco, because Monaco requires such like focus and concentration to switch your bias, especially with one hand. Like that is.
Yeah, and he did it in literally like the hardest part of the track, just casually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he is just he's special.
That is super, super, super cool, man. Obviously, this season, it's a big year for IndyCar. Is there any track that you just have your eye on? Like, do you have anything circled on your board? Like, what is the one track that you are like, that's my track, I've got this season?
Okay. Well, I've got this season. I don't know about that. But, I mean, this field is so strong. You know, it's the top of the top. So, but one track I'm really excited to go back to is Road America. I kind of say it all the time. It's like my home track, and it's just so high speed. I always enjoy it no matter what I'm in. And I'm really interested to see how the IndyCar is going to do there, you know, with these high-speed corners. The IndyCar is just going to go even quicker. So that's one I'm looking forward to. And also Nashville, because that's going to be new to me. I've heard rumors, though, the track is incredibly bumpy, to say the least. So, but I want to experience it for myself. And it's something that I didn't get to do last year. So those would kind of be the two on the bucket list.
That's dope. Actually, our last episode, all we did was like talk about how interesting that Nashville was and how it was exciting to watch, but it seemed like it felt like it was a train wreck. I don't know if it was necessarily a train wreck for those guys out there on the racetrack, but from a viewer standpoint, it seemed fairly chaotic. All right, Dan, you got anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, so obviously you're taking a big step up into the IndyCar world, and so this can go short-term or long-term. Do you have any either on or off-track goals for this season, or just any incoming seasons in the future?
Goals for the season. Honestly, I think from our side, we're going to be focusing on the rookie championship. I think that's a good goal to work on. You know, I think it's going to be cool to continue the battle between me and Kyle, you know, now, but like in the step up in the bigger cars. But off season, it's honestly, I think we're only like just 5 weeks out, even less than that, 4.5 weeks.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah, very, very close. And just, man, going to the gym as much as possible. I mean, literally right after this, I'm gonna go into the gym and try to get as much as I can, because Dale Coyne, every time he sees me, he just roasts me, and he's like, "Man, you're skinny," and I'm like, "Oh, dude." I'm like, okay, like, so yeah, I need to start looking like New Garden, but you know, I only have 4.5 weeks, so it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. And obviously, so this is the Indy Boy podcast. So I gotta know, how excited are you to run the Indy 500 this year?
Oh man, excited, but like also nervous, but also like, oh man, excited. Dude, I honestly, I can't explain the feeling I have. It's you know, it's one of the biggest racing spectacles in the world, and the fact that I'm going to be racing on it, you know, going 230 miles an hour side by side with, you know, the best of the best and people that I've watched on TV. I can't believe it's actually happening. So I don't know. You'll have to ask me that again. Maybe I'll do another podcast after the 500 and see how I felt. But it's definitely exciting and nervous at the same time.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah,
We'll definitely be cheering for you in the month of May, man. We got
definitely
you.
pulling for you, man.
For sure.
15.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, Freedom 100 happened, and I had my big incident in 2019, and I was like, man, ovals, it's just not for me. I can't do them. And then we you know, Gateway came, and I think we got redemption. So now I'm like kind of looking forward to the ovals. After Gateway, I was like, okay, maybe, you know, actually we're not that bad anymore. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll pass it on to Jay. Jay, do you have any?
Yeah, I actually have a
questions?
question to kind of go along with like your first question. So this is like, of course, we all know it's your first time rookie or your first full-time rookie season. So like your mindset and training, how does it differ from the past versus like now?
Oh, for training. So before it was mainly just normal casual little like workouts and sim. Like the sim, I would only do kind of just for fun. It wasn't anything serious.
Yeah.
And the workout wise, it was kind of just I don't know, just normal routine I did. Working out different parts of the muscles. But thankfully for the IndyCar, I was able to get 2 tests in. Mainly just the barber test with Dale Coyne, and I was able to see after that day. I woke up the morning and just what was really sore on my body. Like I can't turn my neck, and I was like, oh, okay, that's awful, and so or like my butt, man, my butt, dude. That was, you think like from pushing the pedals, you think it's the leg, like leg
Yeah.
straight. You go do a
Yeah.
squat. No, man, it's just the butt, man. It's like
Wow.
just straight. Yeah. I was
Interesting.
like, God damn! I sat on the toilet. I was like, oh, okay, gotta go slow. Man. So.
That's
Yeah, so I've been, doing like butt workouts and stuff, trying to get the
Yeah, man.
butt gains.
Gotta get them glutes going. Get them glutes going.
Yeah, but kind of mainly just focusing, on what was sore. But
Okay.
whatever it was I was doing before, just timesing it by 10 and just doing a lot more sim work.
Okay. Interesting. All right,
Speaking of
what do
working
you-
out real quick, yeah, I'll just go and cover this.
Yeah.
Speaking of working out real quick, me and you have a connection, David, that I don't think that you know. What is it about jiu-jitsu? What is it, man? Like, do you just like
Okay.
Is it Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but
I'm
okay,
messing with
but
it, man.
But listen. So, but recently I've kind of been lacking because of all the racing stuff. I haven't been going as much as I should have, and it's been like a good couple of months now. And I missed it so much. But it was kind of something my dad got me into because I was so young at the time. Like I don't know what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, or I didn't know. I was still picking my nose, pretending I'm racing with Hot Wheels on the table. So, my dad's the one who got me into it. He also got me into like Muay Thai and wrestling, and they were kind of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was something that I started doing mainly because of my dad, and I started doing it. A lot of fun. They make it kind of like, I don't know, it's like sparring and stuff, and you're supposed to be like fighting each other, but at the same time, it was like really cool. You learn these new moves, and it's just an experience that you go up to somebody who's like taller, stronger, but it doesn't matter. You get on the mat, and if you have a better technique, you can still get him, and that's just to me what's so special about it. And I remember getting to a point where I was actually quite good, and then me and my dad got into like a little bit of an argument, and we had a nice little kerfuffle. I ended up, beating him.
That was a
and,
fun
after,
roll.
and after that, biggest mistake in my life. He ended up going jiu-jitsu, and now he's like black belt, and he goes there every day, and he destroys me now. So
That is awesome.
yeah, but jiu-jitsu, I don't know. The Brazilian jiu-jitsu is like every, I don't know, class that you go to, any place that you go to, is just one big family. Everybody's so nice to each other. It's honestly a really good experience, and I think everybody should do it just to learn self-defense. It's something that when you get into a situation, you never know, you'll be able to beat them no matter who they are. That's kind of the specialty around Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I completely agree with you on that. Growing up in a martial arts background, I'm a third-degree senior black belt in Taekwondo. I did jiu-jitsu for 5 years, so I vibe with you on that. What is your gym? Where do you train? For
the you mean specifically like for
jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu?
For jiu-jitsu. Yeah, shout your gym out.
Uflacker Academy.
Nice. Well, if I ever see you at any egos, man, or any competitions, just shout me out, and I'll
Yeah.
say what's up to you, man.
I went to like one competition, and that was because I didn't know which route I was going to take, if I was going to take jiu-jitsu and wrestling seriously or go for racing. And I ended up going to one competition. I actually ended up winning. I have a sword. Hold on, let me get it.
Let's go, man. I'm gonna get my axe then. Give me a sec.
Dude, yeah, get it.
All right, look, this is the sword I won.
That's that is dope.
Okay, I got 2. This one's still zip tied. I don't know where the other one is, but the other one's actually opened up. But this one's not opened up yet because I want to like kind of keep it. But yeah, this is the sword I got. I don't know why I got a sword. I don't know.
That's
what
just what
resemblance.
that's what jiu-jitsu does, bro. Like I got a battle axe.
Well,
and-
yours is better. What? Bro, I got juice, man. What? Hey, okay, I'm putting my sword away.
So yours is better.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny.
You got the better deal out of that. I got, dude. That's some. Yeah, I don't like that. All right.
Yeah, man, but just like I completely get you with that. Like jiu-jitsu, combat sports, whether it's Muay Thai, Taekwondo, karate, it's just it is a giant family, and you get so connected to these guys, and it's very similar to the relationship I feel like you're gonna have over there at Dale Coy Racing, and especially with your new teammate. Daniel wanted to talk to you about your relationship with the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Yeah, so I obviously when it was announced that you're going to Dale Coyne, I believe it was right after they had announced Takuma Sato was going to go there. So I just wanted to know, like, one, if you've already like had any like moments or like talking conversations with him, and just like what you're most looking forward to work with the two-time Indy 500 champion.
So I met him once before, like, and like either of us were announcers, and nobody even knew about anything. We met, you know, we already knew that everything was confirmed and everything, but we met at like a restaurant, and that was like the first time, and actually like only time I've properly like talked to him for a good, you know, good amount, and he is just so happy. Like I don't know, he's just such a good guy. Like he just doesn't care. Like anything, something bad could be happening. Like dude, this guy's just like. It's okay. Like everything's fine. We're sweet. Like I said in my my interview at Content Day or the conference, they asked me about Sato. They said the same thing, and my answer is always the same. You know, the world could be ending. There could be like a really bad scenario, something happening. I will literally just fly to Japan and just have sushi with Sato and just be perfectly fine about it. Like
That's
you know, the
funny.
world could be ending, but with me and him, we would be perfectly fine. But the main thing that I'm really excited for, and we've already talked to, and he said he's so open about it, and he's gonna try to teach me as much as he can for ovals. Like he's a two-time Indy 500 winner. He knows what he's doing. The Dale Coyne car I think is very fast for the ovals, so I just think it's a really good setup for me for something that's so new that I haven't done yet with this car. I'm just gonna have all the cards to play with, so that is kind of the main thing that I'm really excited for with Sato.
Really good to hear. Jay, I know you kind of had a few more things.
Yeah. Actually, just because you brought up Content Day, IndyCar Content Day, you just did your first one. What was like? What was some things you already figured were gonna happen, and what are some things that kind of like surprised you?
Well, I knew it was gonna be like, you know, like kind of suck, but like I mean I try to make the best out of it. But by
Yeah.
suck, you know, it's I don't know. Some people maybe like it, but you know, you're always on camera. You got to read these like scripts, and you got to go show emotion, and it was a lot more production than I was expecting. You know, I was expecting it to be quite a bit, but this was like pretty intense. I mean, there was like 10 people in each room. Everybody's doing different things. I mean, there's like boom mics over here. One's hitting me in the face. I'm like, okay, and they're like, read the script. You know, like it's like, man, I was like
And
stressing
you're like,
out.
I'm
It's
not
like,
an actor. I don't know how to
they
do
turn the
any of this."
lights off, just bright lights on me. I can't see anything. I'm reading this script and I got to show emotion. And that was the awkwardest, the worst, most awkward thing. You know, you read the teleprompter and it says in all caps, like, go USA. And then you got to like scream it and be like, go USA. And then just dead silence. And everybody's just like, okay, sweet, that was great. And you're like, man, this is so awkward. Man, the whole time I was like, hey, yo, can I go to the bathroom, man? My pits are sweating, man. Like, I need to, like, come on, I'm stressing out.
That's
It's like,
funny.
oh, David, come on, you got to hurry up. You got to get this down. You know, Ed Carpenter's next. So you got to hurry up. You got a line. So it was just a lot, but I think we pulled it off. I tried my best to show a lot of emotion. So I think they enjoyed me, but I don't
Okay,
know.
That's good. That's good. Now kind of getting away from racing a little bit. So I did a little bit of research about you, and I found that you're into coding.
no.
And I don't know
Oh,
a
right.
lot about coding, but it's something that's very interesting to me. So I wanted to know like what your like the extent of your coding knowledge is, like HTML or JavaScript or.
So my coding knowledge is right now only on Python.
Python. Okay.
Yeah, but it's for me. It's all self learn. You know, I just watch YouTube videos and do
okay,
these
okay.
kind of like free to use programs and stuff like that. And just learning on myself. And I just thought that was the best way because college to also do college and IndyCar, that is already a question of its own. But just I think college in general. I don't know. I just don't think it was for me. I really personally did not like school, and to do another 4 more years of it, I would just, you know, I was like, oh no thanks, can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, Python knowledge, I can, you know, write my own little scripts. I kind of got to the point where I like made my own like little stickman game and kind of stuff like that. But Nothing serious so far, but I'm trying my best to learn every day because I do think it's something that I want to have in the future. You know, maybe racing goes sour or in the future I retire. I still have something to do. And I also just think in the future, you know, programming with the way things are going in the world with electronics and tech and stuff, I just think programming is going to be something really good to have on the resume.
Yeah, it's something everybody's like gonna at least need to know a little bit about or something. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Super dope.
Yeah.
All right, and if you could pick, so I'm just gonna go through any car. You can choose any car, okay? If you could choose one car and one racetrack to drive on for the rest of your life, one car, one racetrack. You can take a second to think about it. I'm asking you the Corey LaJoy question. If you had one car, one racetrack to race on the rest of your life, what is it?
One car and one racetrack. For the rest of my life.
Rest of your life.
Can't do anything else. Oof.
Well, if you ever had to step in a car and this was the only track that you could race that car on.
It's a tough question because there's tracks I want to go to that I haven't gone to, but I actually don't know if it's something like.
Even if it's a track you've never been to, man.
Yeah, but I know, but that's like, I've never been there. What if it sucks? So, one track, and one car. And it could be any car, like doesn't have to just be open wheel. Any car.
It could be a stock car. It could be a go-kart. You could be driving a supercar, man. Whatever.
You could be driving a Kia Soul for all we care.
Kia Soul. Let me think. I really want to think of a good car. Let's do a McLaren 720 at Nürburgring.
That is a good pick.
Okay.
I think that's something I would do. I don't know. It's like I don't want to be the boring answer and just be like IndyCar or F1. So but that's I have experience with that car before. I really enjoyed driving it. It's a lot of fun on the track, and Nürburgring is just a massive track. So I just feel like doing a lot of laps on that track. It's probably the thing that you would least get bored off of just doing constant laps. So
Just get lost in it.
Yep.
That's a really, really good answer, and I just feel like that track just like you can just get lost in it, and it
would feel different every time.
pretty much do whatever you want on that track for real.
Yeah, honestly, to probably find the line, it would take your whole life. So
yeah, for real.
So I know that you are of Lithuanian descent or Lithuanian American. I just want to know, have you ever visited Lithuania, or do you like celebrate any like type of like holidays or like do any cultural events here in America if you have never visited there?
Yeah, I've been there twice, and honestly, since the last time I've been there, it's been so long ago, and I went there kind of when I was younger, and it's definitely a different world compared to here. I was still American born. Both of my parents were from Lithuania, and when I went, to put it in one word, Lithuanian one word, it's just potato.
Potato.
Listen, everything, all the meals they make, everything's just potatoes. It's just it's very good stuff though, very good food. But you'll gain weight though, like you'll be strong, like good lift, a lot of potatoes, man. Yeah, you'll be built. It's very beautiful, lots of culture. It's so different from any place that you'll be in America, just mainly because of the history and the culture to it. So many places you can visit and so many cool things to see. But holiday wise, I mean, there's nothing really specific other than Lithuanian Independence Day, but everything else, Christmas and stuff, I guess we just do it in a Lithuanian way. But yeah, so that's about it.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. You got anything left, Daniel?
Yeah, so just my last question that I had, obviously you were talking about how you've had some moments like recently where it just kind of feels like, whoa, like this is really real, but you obviously said like you still like fully like don't realize like this is real, but like do you think there will be any moment that you for sure know will just be the moment where you're like, wow, this is really happening?
Probably once I'm like rolling up to the grid in St. Pete. I feel like that's when it'll hit me, when I'm lined up with all these other drivers. I think that's when it'll be, pretty intense. But until then, I honestly just feel like in my mind state right now, I just think I'm just gonna go into a constant loop, and St. Pete's never gonna come, and it's just a dream, because for me it still just doesn't feel real. So
I'm gonna have to sit through another media day. What am I gonna do?
yeah, exactly. Oh man. Hopefully I can just skip that one. Just keep skipping that. Oh.
That's great. That's great. We've heard a lot in interviews in the past that it gets really real. Like I heard in an interview from Off Track last season. If you listen to Off Track, which is Hinch and Rossi's podcast, that it got really real for Scott McLaughlin last season when he was getting introduced at the 500. So I think that might be a huge moment for you too. That it's like they're calling out your name, and then you have literally hundreds of thousands of fans screaming at you like David Malukas, and I think we'll be right there with you, man.
That's gonna be crazy. I just wonder what they'll be like. You suck, get off.
Well, I guess just don't piss people off on the racetrack. I guess.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know.
Hey man, if everyone boos, we'll be cheering. We'll be cheering.
We'll
don't
scream.
worry.
Yeah,
about it.
I'll know.
sure,
I'll just
definitely.
shout you guys out. I'll be like, the Indy Boys got me, guys. So it's fine.
Well, thank you so much, David, for joining the show. We really appreciate it. Do you have anything that you want to shout out before you head out?
I like to shout out that iCarly poster in the back. It really gave the vibe for today's podcast. Really enjoy that.
Awesome.
I'll let my roommate know that you said that.
I don't know. She keeps rocking on, man, in the background.
Hey, I'm trying to convince him into getting into IndyCar. Maybe he's got a new favorite already.
Yeah.
Dude, you give me the questions. I just couldn't stop looking at iCarly in the background.
Thanks for joining the show, David. Make sure you say what's up to us at the track, all right, man?
All right, definitely. Thank you, guys. Oh yeah, at the track. Just let me know. You guys come over. We'll have coffee. We'll have tea. Whatever you guys like. We'll be in the team. You'll walk in the tent. I'll show you guys around. It'll be sick.
Okay,
Dope.
bet.
That's
Okay,
dope.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, let's transition to the next segment. All right, thank you so much to David Malukas for joining the show. Now we're going to talk about some more of the NASCAR side of things. The LA Clash is in 2 weeks, well, less than 2 weeks now. And I don't know if speculation is the right word for it, or if it's a mix of speculation and utter excitement to get back to this NASCAR season, but I am really looking forward to the LA Clash. I don't know if it's going to be a disaster or not.
If you ask anybody on Twitter, it is. So.
For real.
Ring up Twitter for this dog.
If you ask anyone on Twitter, they're like, yeah.
Scroll. This race. Well, I guess we could just get started on whether, in our opinions, if we think this is going to be a disaster or not. First thing to point out: this is an exhibition race, just like the Busch Clash every year, or formerly the Bud Shootout, or whatever it was called, like for those years when they had a different sponsor every year. I think it's going to be the Busch Clash for a while, and I'm cool with that. But this is an exhibition race. It's like the All-Star race. It's for the drivers to have fun and for the fans to have a good time.
Yeah.
And putting it in LA in the Coliseum, I think is a good idea. And did I think it was a good idea at first? No. I saw the track get built, and it looks good. Timothy Peters and that whole team set that up, and I think it's honestly going to be fun. Now, I think it works as an exhibition race. Timothy Peters thinks that it could work through the season. That one I'm not so sure about. You can't fit 40 cars on that track. And if you could, it's going to be bumper to bumper the entire race. And
they'll have to start
don't
in
know.
3 wide to fit them all on that track.
For real.
And you still
Let's
can't
just-
even probably go 3 wide on the track.
Oh yeah.
let's chill with the exhibition for a little bit. I think this will be a great exhibition race. What do you think, Daniel? What do you think is going to happen with this LA Clash? Do you think it's going to be a disaster, or are you excited for it?
I'm excited for it. I'm definitely cautious about it. I'm very intrigued, I feel like would be the right word. I can't wait to watch it, but I also know it could very well be a disaster. They did build a racetrack inside of a literal stadium, which is a very interesting move. I am excited. of course, don't get me wrong, but I do think it will probably be a wreck fest. It's just such a small track, and obviously they have to limit how many cars they can even put on
Yeah.
it. So I'm interested in that. Another thing, one part that I do think is a questionable decision on NASCAR's part. I know when this race was announced, people were speculating maybe they would just do this first race before the season, and they would have them be doing the old generation of the cars, because obviously everyone's expecting this to be a demolition derby, and so for this to be the first race that they're showcasing the new next gen, people kind of thought it would be a bad idea to just have
Oh, I
all
think it's
these
a terrible
cars,
idea.
yeah, all these cars that are brand new, and obviously it's already been established that at least for now, it's an issue of they don't have enough of them for a
Yeah.
lot
For
of
real.
teams. I do think that's a questionable choice, but I am interested to see what they do with it. I'm interested to see how the general public, outside of just NASCAR fans, because obviously it is in LA, which is a big market, so it's got a lot of eyes on it, and I'm excited to see how it's perceived just in general. I'm I'm optimistic, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I feel that. And they've been really trying to get this race out there. I mean, this isn't a football podcast, but during the incredible divisional playoff games we had this past weekend, I
Mhm.
saw Busch Clash, the LA Clash commercials and promos in every single game.
I think about
And
every commercial break,
yeah,
honestly. It's felt like
and
a lot.
obviously it was most prominent in the game that was on Fox, being the Niners versus the Packers. Um, Most prominent there. For that one, there literally was a LA Clash commercial, probably every commercial break, if not every other commercial break,
Yeah.
which I'm cool with. And that gets people on Twitter talking about that. Wow, they put a racetrack inside the LA Coliseum. Is that going to be a disaster, or am I going to become a NASCAR fan now? I like that they're trying something different. However, I don't think that they do this race if Auto Club gets built to the where they wanted it to be this year. And since this will be officially the last year we're running at Auto Club on the 2 mile, yeah, I don't know if we'll do the LA Clash again next year if it's a disaster, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Jay, what do you think is going to happen with LA?
So, I'm on the same boat as Daniel. I'm cautiously optimistic. I want everybody to have a great time, drivers, fans alike. Ben Kennedy, I read an article the other night that he said, I think it seats the Coliseum seats about 78,000 people.
Oh my
or
gosh, I
something
was
like
saying
that.
Timothy Pierce this entire time. It's Ben
Ben
Kennedy.
Kennedy, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm
Yeah.
an idiot. It's Ben Kennedy.
Yeah.
Okay, go back,
You're
think
good.
about it.
Yeah.
Everything I said before is Ben Kennedy, not Timothy Peters. There we go. All right, continue, Jay.
Okay, but Ben Kennedy, he was saying, I think the Coliseum seats about 78,000 people, and he said if the race were to happen today, we'd have a really good turnout. He didn't say a specific number of fans, so I don't know that general idea of how many people are going currently. So I don't know if it's sold out or not. But he said today, if the race were to happen right now, we'd have our target number of fans we would like to have at that race. So I think that's cool that there's at least they reached their target number that they wanted. First off. Second off, I wanted to touch on what Daniel was talking about with the Gen 6 cars and racing those instead of the next gen cars, because clearly it was a big like struggle to get a bunch of the next gen cars made. So why are we running the next gen car at the Clash? That's my only skepticism about the race. Why are we
Yeah, I feel
running the
bad.
next gen car?
I feel bad for
if-
some of those lower tier teams.
Exactly. But like it just doesn't make sense to me, you know? Like just run the Gen 6 car, and I know you want like big market, big crowd, big race or whatever for the season, and you want to promote the next gen car. So I get that. But you don't want to tear them all up before the season even starts, you know what I'm saying? Or at least tear one of the cars up before the season even starts. That's my take on it, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely cautiously optimistic about it.
Yeah, and obviously you always have, like, I believe each team per entry that they have is allowed to have 4 cars maximum. So like Hendrick can have 16 next gen cars at most. 4 for Larson, 4 for Bowman, 4 for Byron, 4 for Chase,
And if
right?
they crash out here, that's one of their cars
Yeah.
gone.
And I've heard that a lot of teams, I know RCR does not have all those cars right now because they can have 8 cars. And I believe I saw this in some articles that was either published by Toby Christie or either by J-Ski. I might have saw it on Out of the Groove. A lot of these guys only have 2 cars. And one of those cars is for Daytona, and one of these cars is for LA. And I just really wish that they would have thought this through a little bit more, and that these guys, because a lot of these like lower tier teams don't have backup cars right now, and I don't know. I'm speculate. That's not a word. I'm a spectic. There we go. English is hard sometimes, guys. But I don't know. I am very excited for this.
Yeah.
If cars get torn up. Twitter's gonna have a field day. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
But however, I could not be more thrilled to see these cars on the track. I could not be more thrilled to hear Ice Cube do a halftime show during the middle of it. And I'm excited to see some of these guys race cars that race a different car that has brand new mechanics, has a digital backup camera, I guess. That's kind of cool. Or a digital rear view mirror.
Yeah.
Has a single lug nut. Has all these different aerodynamics. And we're going to see that. And we haven't seen a new car since 2013. So this is really cool. And I hope that it's interesting because the first race we saw with the Gen 6 car was the most boring Daytona 500 I've ever watched. And while I am thinking that this Daytona 500 will be a little bit similar to what we've seen in the past, I'm excited for LA. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be new. And I'm excited to hear Tony Stewart commentate. What? That's going to be interesting. But yeah.
And for the 500 too.
And for the 500. That's going to be cool. But yeah. Anything more to say about LA, boys?
I think NASCAR has just got a lot of hope that this is going to be a good event. I think if you're NASCAR, you're hoping, one, it's not a total wreck fest. I think obviously some wrecking is fine. It's very much expected. I think if most of the cars survive with little damage, if you're NASCAR, kind of tying in the Ice Cube thing, I think it's going to be a good day for them.
That was a good fun.
I think they have a lot of hope that this is at least a solid race. But yeah, we shall see.
I don't think we're gonna see as after you put it in the terms of that they only get 4 cars per like team, and they only have 2 for each of those teams right now, like individual teams inside of like Hendrick or something is what I mean. I don't think we're going to see as much of a crash fest. After you put it like that, I don't think we're going to see as much of a crash fest as people are expecting it to be, personally. That's like, after hearing that, I really think they're going to take a lot of caution. Maybe until like the last 7 laps, maybe. But like the entire race in general, I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing or moving and crashing and running each other over and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm with Daniel. I'm cautiously optimistic. So.
All right. So that's what's going to go on with the LA Clash, guys. Let's transition to our final segment. All right. So we put a hashtag on Twitter. Ask Indy Boys. We got a couple questions. Couple questions for me. Couple questions for all of the boys. Let's start with our first one. This one's from Jade V. What is your all-time favorite race and why? This could be any auto sport. This one's going to be hard to think of. I guess I could go first. My personal favorite race of all time would have to be the 2016 Indy 500. Reasoning for this, it honestly wasn't the greatest race in the world. I just had a really, really good time of it. Okay? 100th Indy 500. Got to watch, like, passing all the way around. It was a packed packed racetrack. It was at my home track. I got to drive, met some cool drivers, got a cool pin for my hat. Watched Alexander Rossi win his first race and his hopefully, first 500. Yeah, it was a cool all-around race. Would not trade that experience for the world. All right, Daniel, what about you? What was your favorite race of all time?
I don't know if I have a necessary number one, but I think any of the Indy 500s that I've gone to from 2013 to 2021 up till now, obviously excluding 2020, I think just the past decade of the Indy 500 has just been really good. I would
For real.
argue, honestly, maybe the best one out of all of them was the 2021, at least for me. Um,
It was a good race.
there was just a lot of moments that, especially like for me, I really enjoyed. Obviously, I got to see my current favorite driver, Colton Herta, lead a lot of laps. I got to see one of my other favorite drivers, Rinus VK. Obviously, got to represent. He led a bunch of laps. Connor Daly, hometown favorite, led the most laps in the entire race. There weren't any big crashes. It was a relatively safe race, which is very good in my opinion. And then obviously like the finish was between Alex Palou, who is the defending champion, who almost won the race, but Elio Castroneves ran him down in the last few laps and took home his fourth Indy 500, tying the record for most 500s. And I believe it was the first time a driver done that since the 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah,
It had been a while. So I think fans were ready. Obviously, Elio had plenty of close calls. That man probably could have had like 6 or 7 had a few of the Indy 500s that he almost won gone a different way. Like, he really deserved it. It was his first one since 2008 or 2009. It had been over 10 years. He very much deserved it. I just thought it was a very good race overall. Arguably my favorite race of all time.
Nice. What about you, Jay?
I don't have necessarily a favorite such as Daniel, but like the one that's most prominent in my mind would probably be the 2011 Aaron's 499 at Talladega.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
That race was, that was the tandem drafting era of NASCAR. I love tandem drafting.
So do I, man.
Was so fascinating to me. It was skillful, and then like it made super speedway racing very like I guess not boring, but it just made it more skillful, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say, because you had to take 2 cars and stay up front the whole race. But the end of that race, especially the end, is what sticks out most importantly, because like the finish was 4 wide at the line. It was Dale Jr. pushing Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, I think it was Mark Martin, pushing...
Yeah, Mark was pushing Jeff,
and then it was Clint Boyer and...
Burton.
Who?
Would it have been Burton at that time? JB?
Oh, it might have been Jeff Burton, yeah. Maybe.
Then it was Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth.
Carl
Edwards, Matt Kenseth, or Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was one of those two. But that finish just, like, all the time just sticks out in my mind. So if I had to choose a race, it would probably be that one. Because, like, just that entire era of NASCAR was just beautiful to me. But,
For real.
No, the 2011 Aaron's 499 would probably be my exact favorite race of all time, I guess.
There you go. Thanks, Jade, for asking that question.
Yep.
All right, now let's move on to a question from Drake. If you had to pick one racetrack to watch every race at for the rest of your life, what racetrack would that be? That is a tough question, Drake. Oh, man. That's going to give me... I need a little bit. You know what?
I don't.
I'm just going to say it.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead, because it's probably the same as me.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's what I was going to say. Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I know we're biased, obviously, being Indy
Our
Boys,
whole
the
brand
Indy Boy
is this.
podcast. But like obviously the Indy 500 is the greatest race in all of racing, arguably one of the greatest sporting events in all of sports.
It's the pinnacle of racing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's got the history, it's got the great racing. Obviously, NASCAR in the recent history hasn't had the greatest racing, at least on the oval. But even like in the 90s, early 2000s, the races were very good. Obviously, the last package didn't really suit the track as well, but I'd be interested to see him coming back for it.
For real.
And plus, they've got a road course too. They've got the current setup. They've got the older setup where they used to do the F1 races. You could have a lot of different motorsports come to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and have pretty interesting races. It's my favorite track. It's my happy place. I'm very much biased, but that's my favorite track.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with IMS2. It's the perfect track. And I know a lot of people said that the Brickyards were boring the last couple of years. 2019 Brickyard is probably one of my favorite races I've ever been to in person, just because I have such good memory of it. Harvick won. I love Kevin Harvick. Dominated. It was a cool race. Bubba Wallace got third. Like, it was a dope race, and I really enjoyed it. But if I had to choose another answer, I would probably go to Talladega. I think Talladega is a dope track, and as someone that loves super speedway racing, Talladega is better than Daytona. I'm sorry, but it is. What about you, Jay?
So my original answer was me basing it off of viewing experience, because watch as a race. I was going to go Bristol, but Daniel explaining IMS, it'd probably have to be IMS because history, you can run multiple different series there on multiple different layouts, and like you said, it's a perfect track. So personally, I probably would have to go IMS as well. But based on like just the viewing experience, it's in alone itself, probably would have to be Bristol. So, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it's
That's
either
dope.
IMS or Bristol, one of those two.
I mean,
That's dope.
I think we're missing the Nashville road course. Street course. No, I have a love-hate relationship with that track. I had to make.
If we're talking Nashville Super Speedway, then we have an argument.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Thank you, Drake, for sending in that question. And final question. This one's for Daniel. This one's from Jeff. How long, Daniel, have you had a flag of Miranda Cosgrove on your wall?
Wow.
It is not mine, surprisingly. It's actually my roommate's. But yeah, it's been here since we moved in, and you already know.
It's not
You
leaving.
know. It's not leaving.
That's hilarious. If you guys
so
want to be
funny.
on the show, if you guys want to ask us questions, just use the hashtag AskIndyBoys on Instagram or Twitter, and we'll be sure to check that hashtag and just respond to your guys' questions. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening today and or watching today to the Indy Boys Racing Podcast. Thank you, David Malukas, for coming on the show. It was great talking to you, man. Next week, got a brand new episode for you guys. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you guys get your podcasts. Tune in. We're here every week. Can't wait to keep this thing going. Anything to say, Daniel?
I think you pretty much said it all. Very fun episode. Love talking to David Malukas. Love discussing the Clash. I'm really excited to keep this going.
What about you, Jay? Anything to say?
Pretty much, yeah. Big thank you to David for definitely coming on the show. We definitely enjoyed that. And thanks to the fans for sending those questions as well. And yeah, pretty much. I think it was a pretty solid episode, honestly. So, yeah.
For real. Make sure you guys leave some comments down below of what drivers you would like to see us interview in the future, and we'll try to get them on the show. I mean, obviously, every driver is busy in the world, but if they can stop by for 15 minutes, we'd love to get them on the Indy Boys Racing Podcast. Signing off for Daniel Chaney, best hair in the NASCAR media world for my RFK. Signing off for Justin Cox. I'm Tristan Grider. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.